GAZ cargo truck from Miniart. Now, picture here of the engine, both sides. There you have it. The details quite well. It's come out quite well on the engine sump and crankshaft. Not crankshaft. The crankcase. It's very pitted. Now it's going to take the wash very well with all that pitting in there, so it's going to give it a sort of a rusty type finish on the cylinder sides and that sort of thing. Next picture, just here, is of the fan blade parts, but without the fan blade. I'm still cutting that off. Very weak parts where the fans are connected to the centre hub. There's a very thin piece of plastic between the two, so it's taking me time to do that. I've also started on the chassis, which is here. Okay, as you can see, there's some small parts there. That's the ladder chassis, one side screwed together, ready for the other side. You'll notice that some of it actually hasn't been put on there. There's a big wooden piece that goes across the top, and it's got some U-clamps that goes over the top of that and bolts into the bottom parts, and it clamps the wood to the chassis, and then the bed of the truck rests on that piece. In the model, the top part of that piece of wood is actually in green and the chassis is black, so I've decided to leave that off, paint that first and then put it on afterwards. So it'll be much easier for me to do it that way. It's the way I tend to work. I tend to build some parts and paint them, or paint them first and then put them on. That's the way I build. I don't build the whole thing together, which I've seen some people do. There's one chap, I can't remember which one it is now. He's built most of his truck, including the cab, internals, the inside of the cab he's built. Nothing's painted on it. Nothing's painted on it. He's going to go back in there afterwards and paint it. I'm going to love to see him how he does that. But that's the way he builds. I build slightly differently. Everybody builds their own way, the way they feel comfortable with. Now, just a couple of tips I want to put on to this video for everybody. When you get very small parts like that, when they're on the end of a tree sprue, excuse me, you can get them off quite easily. But when they're like this one here, where you've got the two pieces coming on either end, it's possible to break it. Or if they're like the fan piece on the fan belt, it's got 4 fan blades. Every fan blade had a connection to the tree. A nightmare. However, there is one way to do it. I'm going to pick up my old knife here, scalpel. I've got a couple of these handles. I always keep a couple in. I put an old blade on the other one, and I've heated it up with my my lighter to really nice red hot things. You just push it through that part, the thickest part there. Push it through the tree part, and it will melt through, and it will not distort the part. You might have to do it a couple of times depending on how thick it is. Do it with both sides. Then you can take that part off and you've got the tree pits still on the part. Then you can cut those off and it won't distort the part. It's an old little trick. A Polish chap told me. Actually, he taught me to fly model aircraft, radio controlled aircraft. The other thing is taking the mould line off. Now, there is a mould line on these, minuscule, very, very tiny little mould line, hardly noticeable at all, but if you paint these, it will show up like a sore thumb. To get rid of that, again, same chap showed me a little trick with liquid cement on a small brush. dip it in liquid cement and then just run it along the mould line. On the very fine mould lines, disappears. It melts it away basically, and then you can spray over, or paint it over, and no mould line will be visible. There's a couple of little tips for you. I'm going to get on with the second part of the chassis now. Right, got the first part of the chassis done. Trouble is, I've already found a mistake on the instructions. Time consuming. It's taken me nearly, it was about 20 minutes just to put those few bits on here, especially with a mistake. Let me move over here. Here it is. On the instructions you can see I've ringed the part in red. It shows the arrow pointing to a small hole in the side of the chassis. It doesn't go there. It actually goes into the hole next to it. And the other part, let me just check this and make sure I've got this right. And the other part goes into the correct location. It's whether I don't think they could get the arrow into the right place. But if you have a look at this next one, this is the bottom picture, and you can see they've placed the arrow in the right place this time. So part 4 is wrong, but part 5 has got it in the correct place. So it's easily found, that little mistake in it. See you soon. Keep up the modelling. Bye for now.